hopefully you recognize this as a cervical vertebra. What this model is going to show us is a much better cross-section of what we see in the spinal cord than any of our other models can. So just to orient you first, you've got your spinal cord, of course, going through the vertebral foramen. But remember that anterior on this model is going to be right up here where the body is, or the centrum. And then posterior is going to be back here where the spinous process is. So posterior, we also call that dorsal. Anterior, we also call that ventral. So when we're looking at these more microstructures of the vertebral, not the vertebral column, the spinal cord, notice we have, this is called white matter and this is gray matter. I know it's orange, but just bear with me here. So we have got in the white matter, here are the anterior white columns. We have the posterior white columns, and then we have the lateral white columns. So see, if you know your directional terms, that's half the battle here. For the gray, instead of columns, they're called horns. So here are the anterior gray horns. We've got the lateral gray horns. And then we've got the posterior gray horns. Now we've also got right here the central canal. So that's going to be the little canal that's going to run through, well, the center there. You've got the posterior median sulcus, is this line right here, and then the anterior median fissure. Here is our gray commissure connecting both sides. And then our white commissure is right here. It's a little tough to see, but there is a little connection right back there. Now, moving outwards from this region, we have roots right here. So here are the ventral roots. Remember, anterior and ventral are synonymous. And then we've got the dorsal roots back here. So posterior and dorsal are synonymous. We're going to follow them on this side. Now this is called the dorsal root ganglion. And then here we're going to get a splitting. So this is called the ventral ramus, not root. So this was the ventral root. Here's the ventral ramus. And then this is the dorsal ramus. Now I just want to show you this structure right down here. A lot of people have had trouble with this. This is part of the sympathetic trunk. So if we stack these on top of each other, you're going to get a chain with ganglia. So this is the sympathetic ganglion, this bulb part. If I were to mark it up here, it would be the sympathetic trunk. And this is called the rami communicans. So connecting that sympathetic ganglion to the ventral ramus. Now there's something else we can see in this frame. This is vertebral artery and vertebral veins. So this is going through that, that transverse foramen. Now just a few more things I want to point out to you all. This right here, there is actually a ridge down here. That's a denticulate ligament. And then we've got a few layers that are in kind of a light bluish gray. This layer that is right up against the spinal cord is the pia mater. So if I were to show you a cadaver, you wouldn't be able to see the pia mater because it's very closely invested to the spinal cord. And the same goes with the brain. Now there's a space in here. This space is called the subarachnoid space. So it is the space between the pia mater and then this layer right here, which is the arachnoid mater. Now you'll notice a line right here. That line is dividing the arachnoid mater from the dura mater, which you can also see over here covering the rami. So that is your cervical vertebra model. Lots of good stuff on here, so make sure you study that in addition to your flat models.